Hi, my name is Jared Borup. I'm at George Mason University, and I'm excited to share with you this research that we've been working on. What I'll be talking about today is a new framework that we developed and recently published called the Academic Communities of Engagement Framework. And what this framework is really designed to better understand the types of support that students receive and need in online and blended learning environments. So as I mentioned, it's published with ETR&D. You can see my co-authors, Charles Graham and Richard West, are at Brigham Young University. Kristen Spring is a recent graduate from their program, and Leanna Archambault from Arizona State University also contributed to this work. There are some helpful frameworks to try to understand student support structures in online learning and in blended learning. The first is three types of engagement. Michael Moore identified three types of interaction: student to content, student to teacher or instructor, and student to students. So with this framework, we identify some important supports that the teacher or student's peers can provide them to really help them to better engage with the content, complete assignments, and learn and master the material and be successful. Another framework that's newer, but it's been around for about 20 years, is a community of inquiry framework. And what's great about the community of inquiry framework is it looks at these same types of interactions, except that it explains how these interactions can occur in ways that result in cognitive presence and a rich educational experience for students. So both of these frameworks are very helpful. I've used both of these frameworks in my research. However, when we look at support models, they often miss some important types of support that are occurring both at the K-12 and higher education level. So for instance, right here in the top left, we see a common model that occurs right now where students might be in a school, a brick and mortar school, but they're taking an online course. So technically they are online students. However, they're also blended students because they're receiving support from an on-site mentor or facilitator. Oftentimes they'll meet with that facilitator daily in a lab setting. And the facilitator or the mentor, they're not experts in the content, but they're experts in how to build relationships and to motivate students. At the same time, they're interacting with their peers face to face. They may or may not be in the same course, but then they're also interacting with their online peers in the online course and the online teacher. Not only that, they're receiving lots of support from parents. So when we look at the three types of interaction or the community of inquiry framework, it's not capturing a lot of this support that's going on. Another model that's kind of similar to that in higher education is Brigham Young University's Pathways Worldwide program. And what this is it kind of serves a population of students that may not have gone to higher education. They're non-traditional students, but it provides them a pathway to being successful in higher ed. And it does that by having students enroll in online courses. So they have online peers and online instructor that support them and they communicate with them. But they also meet weekly face to face with a on-site facilitator, a volunteer, and peers that may or may not be in their online course. So this is another model where you can provide a lot of support for students that is not being captured in those previous frameworks. The other thing is MOOCs, so massive open online courses. These are obviously online. They're offered free or for very low cost throughout the world. But one thing that started occurring is that students started meeting up with other students in the course. So here, if you go to meetup.com, they have a MOOC section where you can actually find meetings in your area and go and meet people and kind of help each other and support each other. Some of these are actually organized. They're called MOOC camps. So the State Department will actually help facilitate these MOOC camps. And then we're also seeing that going beyond just the course level, we start seeing some success coaches. So Arizona State University launched a success center where online students are provided with success coaches. And you can see the description here. They're part personal advisor, part cheerleader. They're focused on supporting the online students to achieve their goals. And they've seen some success with this. And so again, when we're looking at support models, we need to look beyond learner to learner and learner-instructor interactions because there's a lot more going on. So we developed this framework. At the middle of the framework, we knew that we wanted to focus on student engagement. We identified three types of engagement. So here in the middle, we have affective engagement, how students feel when they're in a course and performing tasks. Behavioral engagement, them actually doing what they need to be doing. And then cognitive engagement is the mental effort that they exert to try to learn the material. But we also know that student engagement doesn't happen in isolation. And so then there's facilitators of engagement, the learner's characteristics, their abilities and background, the personal environment, and the course environment can all impact student engagement and influence their ability to actually engage in those ways. So this is a model that we're calling the academic communities of engagement. You'll notice that independent engagement is in the middle. So that means students' ability to independently engage in the course without support from others. And the area of the triangle represents the amount of engagement. The dotted line is the necessary engagement for academic success. So again, we have affective engagement, behavioral engagement, or cognitive engagement. And you can imagine that a student coming in to a course might not be able to engage at the level that they need to reach academic success independently. But you'll notice along this dotted line here and along these three dotted lines, it's potential engagement with support. So as students receive support, their cognitive engagement can go up, or their affective engagement or behavioral engagement can increase as well. So here, let's take an example. This is a student that you can see has high affective engagement as represented in the area of the middle triangle. So they probably really enjoy a topic, a subject, so they decided to take a course on it. It might be an elective. However, they might lack the metacognitive or self-regulation ability to have high cognitive engagement or behavioral engagement. And so this is a case where a student is excited about learning something, but will likely not be successful independently if they don't receive support from others. You might also see a case like this where students can reach academic success independently, that they might not need support from others to be successful. So here we get into the types of communities that can support students. So we identified two types of communities, the course community and students' personal community. So the course community is made up of individuals who are connected to the course, either through enrollment or profession. The personal community is different. These are longer lasting relationships, perhaps family and friends, or personal networks that come with the student wherever they go. They're invested in the student more than the actual course. The other thing that we did is we thought of support elements and aligned them with the different types of engagement. So for instance, cognitive engagement is probably increased by someone providing instructing support or collaborating support. Similarly, the affective engagement can increase when individuals work to facilitate communication or develop relationships or try to instill an excitement for learning. And behavioral engagement can increase when students receive support from others who are willing to troubleshoot or orient them to the environment, or organize and manage their learning, or monitor and encourage their progress. So community actors can be any number of people. We've grouped them into three groups. So the first group is instructors. So this would be the course teacher or support staff or an on-site mentor. So they don't have to be content experts. Certainly some of that would have to have content expertise, but it can also include other individuals that can teach the student both how to learn the content and how to learn online. And as I mentioned before, instructors can be both in person or online. Peers can also be in person and online. In the personal community, this would be friends, and in the online community, this would be peers in the course or peers in the program. We can also look at the family. This can be parents. Parents can be especially influential with young children, but also it can be siblings or maybe a spouse or a partner. It can be any number of individuals depending on the age and background of the student. It can also include networks that extend beyond the family. For instance, if a student is struggling to learn math, a parent might hire a tutor. So let's look at some examples here. So here we have the middle triangle where This student seems to be quite bright, has high level of independent cognitive engagement, not quite enough for success individually, but has low affective engagement and perhaps as a result has low behavioral engagement. In this case, this student probably needs a lot of support. But we look at the orange triangle, it's not getting a lot of support from the course community. And it's receiving more support from the personal community, but not enough for academic success. So this actually doesn't end well for the student, and the student doesn't succeed academically. This is a case where a student received a high level of support from the course and didn't require a lot of support from family. So this might be especially important with non-traditional or first-generation students. And so they might have a hard time receiving support from family and friends. However, when they receive enough support from the community or program, they can be successful. So possible implications for this framework is that supports need to be carefully designed and personalized to students' needs. The other thing that we learn is that support roles can be fulfilled by multiple individuals. We talked about that already. For instance, students might receive a success coach or a facilitator in addition to a content expert or an online teacher. The other interesting thing that we found in our research is that those providing support also need support. It's oftentimes people are asked to be a facilitator or a mentor, and they don't receive any professional development. And as you can imagine, they're not as successful as those who do. So thank you for watching this presentation. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. You can email me there. And I hope that this framework is helpful.